Going back to rewatch episodes 5 through 7 of Swarm, I'm almost 100% sure that our girl Andrea killed Marissa herself, and this was not self-inflicted this entire time. Let's talk about it. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Swarm episodes 5 through 7. Now, before we get into how the show ended and if I was satisfied with it, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that. Then we're going to come back and discuss. This is definitely one of those shows that you need to watch a few times to truly understand what's going on. Because watching it only once, you couldn't tell me that Andrea didn't love Marissa enough not to take her out. Watching it a second, third, maybe fourth time, she did it.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this episode. Now, once we start off with episode 5, love me some Ricky Thompson. I absolutely loved him here, even though it was a small role. And I also noticed that his character was the first one to genuinely acknowledge the fact that something is wrong with you. Even though you are coming in here, you are frantic about this phone no longer working. She is losing that connection that she feels like she has in her head to Marissa via this phone. I need you to fix it. But it seems to be a little bit more than just being about the urgency of this phone and you not wanting me to contact Harris Jackson, who disconnected this phone. Something is not connecting within your brain. Not only am I not going to help you, but I need you to leave. You are scaring me. It is not lost upon me that he is maybe the first man that she interacts with who is not sexually attracted to her, or not a fellow female who is ignoring her, wanting to have a savior complex, wanting to connect themselves to her, wanting to want something from her in some way. I want nothing from you. I strictly want to do my job. Now, of course, I was hella intrigued at that point. I wanted to know who Harris Jackson was and why she was so shook at the aspect of even thinking about calling him to inquire about that phone. But at the moment that we bump into Erica, Marissa's old co-worker, in the mall, that's when I felt like, oh, you killed Marissa. The whole sit down that they have when she is trying to catch up, years have passed. Where have you been and what have you been doing? First of all, the acting, like, get into the acting. Dominique Fishback was just being like, oh, it was just so amazing. Though we know for sure as an audience that Andrea is lying about what she's been doing with her life for the past couple of years that she's been MIA. The whole thing, I met Naija, bumped into the sister, and that turned into the mother, and they took me in. We went back to her place. We had dinner. I've been doing her makeup for years, and it's just like the tears were coming down. But even though the acting was really, really good and I was really getting into Dominique's performance, the way that she was speaking to Erica and the way that Erica was giving her instant, admiration, gratification, and she was just almost stuck. Instantly believed everything that she said, to the point that she was so moved to not only be proud of her in the way that she has handled Marissa's death. We see that she has went about, mourning her, getting a tattoo, she's had a baby, but the way that she just instantly believed her to the point that she would take a sip out of her drink. Like, it was almost like she was hypnotized. Then I went, oh. The person who could do that before was Billie Eilish's character, Eva, before she killed her. And I traced my way all the way back to the other similarities that we had going on with previous murders and previous episodes. I felt like Andrea at the most had multiple personalities or identities, but it was a little bit more than that. When she cocked her head to the side and the tears started falling, it was like she was just so in control, the same way that Eva was with her last episode. And then when we get back into Haley, the episode with Paris Jackson, we could not dance a lick. In the beginning of that episode, we didn't know how to handle a pole. Child, it was all interpretive, everything. After we killed Paris, we were dancing on the pole. We was making it rain. Like, she had all eyes on her. She was performing in a way that she couldn't perform before she killed her. Then that brought me back to Marissa. With me comparing Drea to someone like Patrick Bateman, we know all too well with her coming to, blacking out, things just being real surreal at times, she is not a reliable narrator. So who's to say that she found Marissa in that bed and she didn't do something to her prior? Because the same night that Marissa decided to separate herself and leave her is the same night she turned into an entirely different person. Not only are we hypersexual, we're confident, we're dancing, we can do makeup, much like Marissa. So instead of her just strictly having multiple personalities, a little DID situation, I felt like she was taking on the essence, the personas of some of her kills. Bringing it back to Marissa, this would definitely explain why instantly after Marissa passes away, not only is she shutting down, but she goes through everything that we have seen her go through at this point, just to make sure she kept that connection with Marissa. And the thing that connected them the most was Nyjah. She idolized them both and felt like they were one and the same, which would explain why, last episode, that face was there, like, oh, the distortion that was going on with Nyjah's body and Marissa's face. We gonna get there. But that would explain why she would go through all of this just to make sure, I need to see her. I need to make sure I meet Nyjah. No, you are trying to bypass what you have done to your sister and reclaim who and what you felt like your sister was to me. She was an idol. She was a queen. Like, you deserve better. One and the same with Nyjah. I need to go. I need to see my sister. I don't know. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree in those comments. Getting into Drea going into this nice little wealthy house, little nice neighborhood, I was like, whose house is this? We know how to get in. We seem to know our way around the house. By the time she got into the house and she was familiar with the dog and she folded that picture back and we saw 2 children, I was like, oh, 2 daughters, 1 + 1. That's Drea. Like, she is in Marissa's home, as well as her old childhood home where she is completely erased. The fact that we will go through the lens of making sure there is not one photo of Drea in the house speaks volumes. Now, instantly, the mother in me was like, oh my God, why would they go through such lengths to erase a child? Then the reviewer was like, why would they go through such lengths to erase a child? First of all, when Leon rolled up looking like no time had passed, Leon looks good. It was very much given, ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. Y'all can't do me like this. You ungrateful sons of bitches. Like, it was all of that. I absolutely love seeing him here in this role, and he did a bang up job for the small amount of time that we got to interact with him. Getting into interactions. By the time the mother is sitting on the couch and Drea rolls up with a gun and she is just so unflinching, so unconcerned, like, what else can you take from me? Like, what else are you here for? Just the nonchalant, uncaring vibes that they were giving her, it just made me really anxious as far as how was it in the home when she was a child? Why is there such a disdain for her? Now, of course, we get more into that in the next episode, but at this very moment, they believe without a shadow of a doubt that Drea killed their daughter. Now, it has something to do with it. Did you come here to finish the job? We knew that you would be back. Despite how we feel about Drea and how the parents feel about Drea at that very moment, we still have to get into the rapport between Leon Harris and his wife. She is extremely submissive. As soon as she comes into the house, she is listening. He is in full control. So it wouldn't have taken anything for her to listen and abide by any way he felt and anything he wanted to do with Drea, which could have resulted in a whole lot of mistreatment, because he makes it very clear in that kitchen, I never wanted you. Should have never taken you in. You know, the business failed. My mother passed away. We already lost, our son. Things were looking bad. And there you were, a check. I was like, okay. I only took you in for the money, and it came back to bite us in the... There was absolutely nothing to think about. He had every single intention of killing Drea right then, right there, and she was in fear for her life. I was very concerned if and when she was gonna make it out of that home. Speaking of the home, I was like, okay, why they living all lavish and Marissa was living all unlavish? Like, where is the disconnect? I feel like the family hadn't really seen Marissa in quite some time. I feel like they disowned her a little bit, right along with Drea, because she would not disconnect from Drea. You were lying to us. You were always connected to her. You were taking our money. You were paying her rent. And as long as you still have a connection with her, we cannot help you. By the time we have Drea kind of barricade herself into Marissa's room, and we have, the memorial that's there for her, and she immediately starts to inflict pain on herself, I felt like that was confirmation that she really did kill her. And that the setup with the picture, her favorite things, the Nija, the tickets, was just bringing back what she's lost and what she's actually did. Why would you do this to somebody you love? Child, by the time we have her make it out of there by the skin of her teeth, this episode gave a whole new meaning to girl bye. Like, girl bye. Do not ever come back here, or I will definitely kill you. Such a strong hatred for her. Getting into her life being in jeopardy yet again. The same thing with, the Midsummer cult episode. It is crazy how we can see a female like Drea in a certain position and still feel for her. Like, oh my God, please don't kill Drea. As if she is a good person, really feeding into that narrative of, what a woman or a black woman can and can't be or represent. Drea is not a good person. But in an episode like Girl Bye, with Leon chasing her down with that gun, with her about to be hypnotized and inducted into this cult against her will, we are rooting for this girl to get away. This would be a good time to slip into episode 6, Falling Through the Cracks. Now, if you are a fan of Atlanta, and I feel like you are, if you did happen to enjoy this show, this episode was very reminiscent of the Goofy movie episode from season 4 of Atlanta. We jumped right into realism, honey, and I was like, what? How we get here? Did I lay on the remote? We are smack dab in the middle of a true crime TLC episode, and it was absolutely everything. Though there was a whole shift in tone, especially just leaving the Girl Bye episode, I was not mad at this episode because it gave us so much information and a whole lot of jokes too. We meet Loretta Green, who was giving me Loretta Devine, a devoted detective who is very serious about her job and is willing to go that extra mile to solve a case. It means absolutely everything to her, especially the ones that she feels like are revolving around a certain group of people who constantly fall through the cracks. This episode felt so real that Google was on 10 for me. With all of the articles, news clips, all of this live footage, the phone number in the end to call just if you happen to see Tony, you could tell me that somebody here was not a real person. Loretta is the only one who's attentive enough to go the extra mile and just not completely dismiss this case. The evidence, the connections, the patterns, the way that every single one of these murders were executed, from Nashville all the way to Atlanta. Whether these are random acts of violence, even if it is a serial killer, nobody can tell Loretta that this is anyone other than a black woman, according to the bonnet and the hot chips left behind. Like, even though they continue to dismiss her and not listen to her and actually arrest a homeless man for these crimes. Not only was Loretta Green hilarious in this episode along with the camera crew, I love the realism and the attention to details. Whether we're getting into those 4 strippers who were arrested, or Reggie and his little Aggie Twitter account where he goes at a lot of female celebrities. even getting down to the point of this being so set in realness that we began to bleep out the name instead of saying Naja or saying Beyonce or saying a Nicki or a Mariah or anybody else that can be tied and thrown into this story, or types of situations like this that happen all the time. In this case though, it was definitely Beyonce, but we would not say her name. But we will, however, mention the Beehive or the Hive, Andrea definitely being a part of it via the evidence. Child, when we rolled up on the Beehive member in his Ivory Park, it was just so crazy, because even though he was a little out of it because of his dedication to the Beehive, the fandom, and the Queen, what was so crazy about it is that this could literally be a real person. There's this deep-seated feeling of a loss of identity. Anytime he makes any statement, it begins with us, we, our. Well, we would never do that. We protect the Queen. We correct people who need to be corrected. But we, our, us, we would never actually kill someone. I mean, we wouldn't do that. Because we don't do that. Like, he was just so indecisive. There are people like this. There's also a lot of dimension and underlining when it comes to the title of Falling Through the Cracks. That could pertain to the case and these victims. This could pertain to Drea falling through the cracks as a Black woman, falling through the cracks as a Black woman who's a serial killer, and also falling through the cracks as a young lady who became a part of the system. Drea being placed in foster care early on, coming from this really harsh background, and that's whether she spilt this red milk herself, killing a family member, me thinking that maybe it was either her grandma or her mother, or whether she witnessed someone else project violence onto them. I'm assuming that it was her because she keeps apologizing. I'm sorry I spilled the milk. All the way up to us getting older, committing murder and still being able to slip through the cracks, being able to work in a gentleman's club, no real identification. Child, that freaking sketch of who Carmen was took me all the way out. But Carmen could have been anybody, could have been any age, and she was allowed to be here. Now, though our Loretta Green character was really grounded in reality and really working on this case and also funny, meeting Miss Jackson, the real Harris Jackson, seeing the real girls, like, it just felt so authentic. You know these girls, you absolutely know Andrea. Miss Jackson speaks on Andrea always being a little bothered, needing help, being quiet, being an outcast, never really fitting in, being picked on, and her really trying with her, trying to work with her, trying to get her therapy, and Harris never really wanting to give a true effort. We see her get really emotional within the episode. She feels like she didn't try hard enough and that she maybe could have saved her, in turn saving maybe her own daughter. I just didn't do enough. Leading us back into the episode and the energy that Leon was giving, she could only do so much when the person in charge of the household never really wanted her anyway. It speaks a lot on the system and people low-key doing stuff for a check and not really being prepared to handle children who may be battered, scared, broken, and indifferent and really need more help than you are willing to give. I really enjoyed the fact that Miss Jackson said he felt like they were close and a little too close. Her being so clingy, always there, attaching herself to her so deeply, made him feel like there may have been a little bit more going on. You're doing the most. You're gay. Get away from my daughter. You may be affecting her as well as her friends in a negative way, not realizing that they were maybe so clingy on Marissa's part because from what we learned, they have already lost a son. And then we get into somebody who is as broken as Drea. We have Marissa literally be one of the only people to truly understand her and genuinely love her for who she is, which meant everything to Drea because from what we can see, she has really terrible abandonment issues. So when we place her in an attic doing a sleepover, I wonder how many times we tried to create distance between the two and placed her in the likes of an addict. Not only do we feel a little left out and feel like we're being taken away from our sister, but we feel like she's being attacked during a sleepover and we pounce on and stab one of her friends. This ends up being the last straw for Harris and he gives her back. And of course, we embark on the journey that we get into in the first episode. Now, in the end, I really love the interaction with the caseworker and just how she laid everything out and just how defensive she was. Not only am I not gonna gossip about someone who was a child when they were in my care, but you guys are only here because she is now maybe a serial killer. Where were you when, somebody needed you? Where were you guys when she really needed help? Where was anybody when girls like Andrea continue to fall through the cracks? Nobody ever cares until it's too late, and until you need me to validate the reasons why she turned out the way that she turned out. Get out my face. I really love the acting in that scene. The woman was doing really, really well. But we end off this episode with us finding out that Andrea has become Tony, and she is now living in Atlanta. And I also love the fact that the both of them have the same last name of Green, as to say, this could be your baby, mine's, your little sister, your family. We could be this close and not even know. Stop allowing, our people, our babies to fall through the cracks. Let's get into the last episode. Now, the last episode, Only God Makes Happy Endings, really started off, after I laughed 50 times over the fact that Andrea looked like baby Manny Fresh. Like, they laid the hell out of that freaking fade in the tapered edges. I was like, did she? I was like, no, she didn't cut her hair off. They laid that wig down hella good. But it really made me think about Jeffrey Dahmer. Though I later found out that the interaction or the romanticization between Jeffrey Dahmer and Tony Hughes in the show Monster was absolutely fabricated according to Tony's mother, the dynamics here still remain the same as far as who Tony is trying to be, Dre, here right now in this moment. Just like Jeffrey Dahmer within the Netflix show, or maybe Once Upon a Time in real life, this is the one time that he is trying to forego being a serial killer to have the sense of a real relationship dynamic and really suppress murderous tendencies and urgencies to really go at it at being with someone. Because child, when Rashida said that she did not like Naja at all, I don't want to hear that music. Are you kidding me? I just knew that was the clap for her to die. Like, I thought she was out. But in that moment, our brand new masculine presenting Tony completely ignores it. As soon as Tony meets Rashida, Tony had all the swag, by the way. Let's not just leave off the swag. As soon as she meets Rashida, who is a bit too dismissive with her drunken roommate, whether she liked it or not, in my opinion, she has this instantaneous connection. Though she knows absolutely nothing about her, all of the red flags were on 25. Not only does she not know anything about her, but Tony literally has nothing. Though we are college bound, a grad student, speaks 3 languages, has loving, supportive, caring, liberated parents. Any day I get to see Cree Summers is always gonna be a good day. She invites Andrea into her life, who she clearly sees has problems and is broken. Now, we can definitely tell that she does not tell Rashida really low-key anything about her, but she does give her some insight into an inkling about her personality, traumas that she may have gone through her life, the fact that she doesn't have any real family, have any real connections with anybody. You can even see that she tells her about Marissa. But for the most part, Andrea is void, she's quiet, distant, dependent, and not really all that reliable. Rashida thought that she could fix Andrea. I really enjoyed that part of the episode. It looked like something so familiar. How many times have you accepted or dealt with a little bit less than, being dissatisfied, thinking that you could change, save, or fix somebody? And on the other hand, I really felt like Tony liked Rashida because she accepted her the way that she was. Whether she was Dre or Tony, mind you, both of those can pertain to men as far as names. But through the show, I really couldn't totally confirm whether or not this was her true self. But I felt like maybe it was, because she really tried, child. She tried to make an effort to put down all the Naja, all the Marissa talk, that clinginess, that desire that she has to be closer to Naja, that desire she has to murder someone, even though she probably was still murdering people because we were switching up cars every freaking 5 minutes. Maybe this is who Dre always intended to be. But we have Rashida accepting everything blindly, and we cannot even pretend that we have not seen this before. Dre does not have a thing to her name. Child, we don't have a phone. We don't have a real income. She had to show interest in her and kind of low-key chase her down because she really wasn't interested and was low-key trying to still lay low. We don't have our own home. We can't afford to pay for anything or help with any bills, but we can, however, purchase two tickets to a Queen Naija concert that cost $2,000 a piece. When she went all the way off, when Rashida went all the way off on Tony. Are you dumb? Are you dumb? Like, the fact that it had to go there, we had both of them trying to sustain this relationship, and both of them were suppressing who they really were, what they really wanted, and how they really felt. We have this whole uproar happen in Dre. Not only has she been laying low, the cops has, been on her trail finding vehicles, but she sees that festival video yet again. I need to, get a little closer to Andrea. Let me go spend some money on some tickets. And then you also have Rashida on the other hand, completely, because we don't let out that kind of information. That kind of, like she was just so freaking mad. You have been trying to throw Naija on me the entirety of our relationship. I don't like Naija, and I never will. Like, girl, you could have at least took me to see Solange. Like, she was just so freaking heated, and we can just really see that she was tired and had been bothered for some time. You are useful. You are selfish. You only think about your wants, your needs. You only ever talk about Naija. You can't even help me with anything. I had to go to my parents for help with the bills. It was very reminiscent of the conversations that she had with Marissa, even the one prior to her walking out. You are prioritizing something like tickets to go see somebody dance. Her and her greedy husband, I was like, ooh, go see somebody do runs for 80 minutes instead of focusing on what's really important. It was very much so, I can't do this anymore. She chokes her out and gently says, I wanted to share Naija with you because I love you. Like, you just don't get it. The way that she choked her made me think about her taking out Marissa and how she maybe would have done it, even though I believe it was in the form of an overdose via, the funeral or whatever. But prior to her ever choking her out and her sitting down, she goes, I have a headache, but I won't take any pills. I just need some water and I need some rest. So maybe she went about that way. But with these both being two people that she loved and cared for, I'm not going to knock you over the head with some blunt force object. I'm going to choke you out in a slow death and then burn your body. Like, girl, where was the love? Did you ever care? You see that she is just really emotional about this. Not only does she choke her out, mind you, she has already folded those tickets, put them in. Girl, we're not going. Stop being childish. You think this is what I want to do? We put them in our pocket, chokes her out, and she lays with her for quite some time, and then we cut to her burning her body. Girl, that situation to me, even though it was Drea, it really spoke about, toxic relationships, domestic violence, a lot of scenarios that we have seen people do to people that they so-called love. And that victim ignoring all of the red flags that got them up to that point that they maybe should have walked away from this person long ago. With those tickets burnt to pieces, and yet again, another opportunity of me missing Naija. I can't seem to get into this concert. I have no phone. I'm damn sure not Rashida. How am I going to do this? We go about killing a whole ticket scalper who was about to sell some tickets for $10,000. But Drea is finally there, the place that she has always wanted to be this entire time. Though she is covered in a little blood splatter, she makes her way all the way up to the front of the stage, but that's still not close enough. She needs to get on that stage so Naija can see her. clamoring to get at Naja. Not only does she acknowledge her, but she is not thrown from the stage by security. She actually stops the crowd, gives her the microphone, and allows her to speak to the people, at which we have her say, "I love you." The crowd goes wild, claps for her in the way that they didn't when she was at the school's talent show in the previous episode, and she feels accepted, what she has always wanted. Not only is she accepted by the audience, but she is accepted by Naja, who I said at the beginning is one and the same with Marissa, which is why she had Marissa's face on Naja's body. But it doesn't stop there. We come from off the stage, get into the car, and she consoles her, hugs her, like really embraces her to the point that she is crying. And all Drea can say is thank you so much. Even though Drea had to fight tooth and nail and murder to get here, her fantasy, her dream, what she always wanted has finally come true. But like the title says, only God makes happy endings. I definitely don't believe that this actually happened and that this probably occurred all in her mind. But hey, what didn't occur in her mind in the show is the question. Did I enjoy the show and did I like the ending? I did, even though it was, a little open-ended, a little ambiguous. That's what we get when we get to Donald Glover in his projects. He's never really just going to give you a direct answer. Have you seen Atlanta? And I'm not mad at him for it. It really gives everybody a conversation piece and something to ponder over, especially with me feeling like this is a one and done situation. I don't feel like we would get another season. And if we did, where exactly would it go with a character like Drea? But those are my thoughts for the show. I feel like I have been talking for quite some time. Please get down in those comments and tell me what you took away from this review. Did you agree with me on a couple things? Did you learn anything new? Did you disagree? I look forward to reading all of them. Please like, share, subscribe, and share this video because it helps me out. I see you guys next time for my next review. Bye.